What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing great. This is Kobe Shots and I'm back on your screens. Today we're going to look at the questions that you guys gave me when I reached out to you to ask me some questions on Instagram on things relating to photography and filmmaking. So let's get right into it. And the very first question comes from Effects Photography, and he says, how do you get those amazing skies in your images? Alright, so how I get the skies in my images well exposed is very simple. You just have to have the skies really exposed first of all in your camera. So you take an image to make sure that the sky is well exposed. You position your subject, or your model in this case, in front of the skies, having the sun right in front of them, acting as the light source. So the sun right here is my key light, and that's how I light my subject. So you make sure that your background first of all is exposed, which here includes the skies, making sure that your clouds are well composed in the background. Then I use the sun as my key light to light my subject. As simple as that. The second question is from that fanatic kid, and he says, what camera are you currently using? The camera that I'm currently using is a Canon EOS 6D, which I purchased after using the Nikon D5100, which is a crop sensor. And just like every person who wants to start photography will be advised to get an entry-level camera, or probably because you don't have enough to spend on high-end camera, you definitely go for a crop sensor camera or a cheap camera in that sense. And I used a Nikon D5100, which worked well for me because I was new to it and I was trying to explore as much as I could with everything I was learning online. So it helped me a whole lot, and eventually when I was able to get enough, I bought the 6D, which I'm currently using up till now. I've been using the 6D for the past 3 years and it's still going strong, which I don't really necessarily need to upgrade because I haven't gotten to the point where I'll need to purchase a new one, because the kind of photography that I do, the 6D is able to help me achieve all the kind of photographs that I want to take. So that's about that. So the third question comes from Mr. Copyright, and it goes like, please, I want to know if changing your camera model contributes a lot than changing the lens. Example, what will you recommend if I am to change my Canon 60D to a Canon 6D, or rather buying a 70-200 f2.8 lens and fix it on the 60D? I want to be very optimistic about this, and this question is generally very relative because the choice of camera model is based on preference, personal preference, if I should be very honest with you. It depends on what you've used. I started my photography with the Nikon D5100, as I've said earlier, which was the way that I learned how to shoot images, how to practice what I was learning on YouTube and everywhere that I could find tuition from. So later on, I moved on to using Canon through friends because that's what they had and I was on set to assist them, so I was kind of compelled to use it. And eventually I developed a love for using Canon because when I transferred my images to the editing software, I realized these colors that Canon was able to produce. I was kind of moved into that direction. That's why I got myself a Canon EOS 6D. So the camera model is based on preference. It's not really counting so much. It depends on you, what you enjoy using. What I would advise you to do is to get yourself camera models, like several of them, be it a Canon, Nikon, Sony, Fujifilm, and the rest. Try your hands on them and find out what's best for you, and eventually invest into that. So a camera model doesn't necessarily contribute more than changing your lens, because the lenses here give you the look of your images, and almost every camera model, or all camera models for that matter, have a variety of lenses. They have wide angle lenses, they have telephoto lenses, they have normal lenses, and all the rest. So getting yourself a different lens can possibly change the look of the camera model that currently you are using, and you're good to go. But when it comes to if you want to change your camera model because of a particular reason, it could be based on your personal preference, just as I may have answered in the previous question. But you always have to make sure that you research so much into what you are going to purchase before you purchase them. Never ever base your purchase decisions on what my friend is using or what this fellow photographer that you are inspired by is using. Read about it, understand why you need it, so that you can base your purchase decisions on experience or on reasonable facts. All right, so that's about that. Okay, so on to the fourth question. It comes from BedK Photography, and it goes like this. Let's say you're on a tight budget and you got to choose between buying a camera body and a lens, which are almost of the same price. Which will you go for and why? Okay, so I'll look at it this way. I'll compare my camera body that I'm currently using to what's being on sale see the differences between it. If I don't have any problem, most importantly, with what I have currently, I'm not going to necessarily consider buying myself a new camera body, because possibly the next thing that I'm going to look at, which is the lens, is going to obviously fit perfectly well on my camera body, and it's going to give me all that it claims it has. If it has the potential of opening very wide, it has the potential of having variety of focal lenses that I don't currently have in what lens I'm using, I'll possibly go for the lens on sale. Once it can perfectly fit on your camera body, get yourself the lens rather than having yet another camera body. Okay, so the last but not the least question comes from Willie Studios, and it goes like this. Which low budget softbox or triggers do you recommend for a beginner? And the second question is, does photography really pay and worth every investment? Photography is worth your while, to be frank. It's really worth your while. If you really understand photography and your skill set is way up there, you're going to attract a lot of clients. First of all, if you should be prominent on social media, be it Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, once you have your work out there for people to see how good you are, you're putting in your all, photography is going to attract a lot of clients, which is going to help you improve your business. And of course, it's going to improve your life in general. So put in your all, work diligently, try your best to always learn a lot on your own. And you're going to see a lot of difference in terms of financial gains, and personally, your skills are going to develop. The second thing I'm going to talk about is it worth every investment you put in? Of course, every penny that you invest in photography goes a very long way in helping you achieve your goals. For instance, if you learn a lot on YouTube, you're going to find a lot of things that you may want to try. You're going to find a lot of interesting things that you may want to try your hands on. So if you have a particular lens that doesn't really help you to achieve what probably you may have learned, investing into a different lens or a different set of glass is going to help you achieve those particular goals. So investing so much in your education in terms of photography, learning about how you can manage your finances, learning so much about lenses and the equipment that you need to acquire is going to go a long way in bringing back all the money that you invested in back to you. So it is worth the investment that you put in. Okay, so on to the first question that you asked, which goes like this. Which low budget softbox or triggers do you recommend for a beginner? Okay, the term low budget is very subjective. It depends on you, the individual, how much you're ready to spend on a particular modifier or a particular trigger. What I normally use for my portrait photographs is the Godox 95cm octabox, which does so well. It doesn't cost so much, but again, it's relative. It depends on how much you're ready to spend on it. There are several other softboxes on the market. You can try some options on online marketing applications like AliExpress, Wish. Even locally, we have a lot of shops out there that you can get yourself a softbox, a very good one for that matter. You can get some at GoPixela. You can try, if you are here in Kumasi where I am, there are a lot of shops at Adum that you can get yourself a softbox. So it depends on how much you are ready to spend. I will always advise you to read a lot around the softboxes, read around any kind of modifier that probably you may have come across, understand exactly how it works and how best is going to improve your photography before you purchase or before you even make a purchasing decision. So that's how it goes. You can basically go for what I'm using currently, which is what I've mentioned, the Godox 95cm octabox, or you can go for the softboxes that come in squares, because it comes in a lot of sizes and a lot of shapes, and it depends on you and what you really want to achieve or the look that you really want to go for. That's why I'm saying read a lot about them and don't just make your purchasing decisions based on what someone is using out there or what you've seen someone use. All right, so that's how it goes with the softbox. For the triggers, there are a lot of options out there, and it's also dependent on you and how much you're ready to spend and how relative low budget means to you as an individual. So I currently use the Godox X1 trigger, which works fine for me, and I bought this around I think 500 Ghana cedis or so, which came as a pair. I have the pair because if I get myself a flash which is non-native to Godox, I can still use the triggers to work with that particular flash. But if I get myself a native flash, I can use this particular trigger to work with it and it will work just fine without a second pair. So you should look at it in that perspective. On the other hand, there are a lot of other options out there. Yongnuo makes a lot of triggers, Canon makes triggers, Nikon makes triggers, and it depends on you. If you want to go for the native ones, most of the time the native ones cost much than the third party like Godox and Young Nuo and the rest out there. Read a lot about it as well. Just as I'm telling you this, you don't have to always depend on solely what I'm talking about. Read also about it, and you're going to also find a lot of things for yourself. Alright, so this brings us to the end of the video. I had so much fun answering your questions. There will be a second session coming up very soon. The notice will be put up on my Instagram page. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and turn on the post notification button to be notified every time I post a new video right here on my YouTube channel. Until the next video, see you.